want to fight the best person in my weight class or close to me. Whoever close to me, they call pound for pound. That's why I got to fight.
Yeah.
Next time came, Tony wanted the same. Tony wanted to prove he's the baddest of everybody. So ain't nobody stopping us from fighting, or we gonna have an issue. You understand me? And that's what happened. So it wasn't so far as for me, because we wanted to fight so bad, I got stripped of my IBF middleweight title as soon as I signed the fight. Now mind you, when he signed the fight Arian Barkley, he was the middleweight champ. After he beat Arian Barkley, they gave him 10 days to decide whether he was going to keep the middleweight title or the super middleweight title. Because of interference, outside interference from promoters, of course, same thing I'm talking about right now. As soon as I signed the fight, James, they stripped me of my IBF title, middleweight title. Why don't the same treatment he got? Because I'm not protected by a so-called promoter. But for me, I didn't need a promoter's protection. I needed God's protection.
That was Roy Jones Jr. talking about Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. He used himself as a parallel or a metaphor for the situation that's going on with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. And what I wanted you to hear was when Roy Jones Jr., a man who wanted to always prove he was the best and fight the best, when he tried to fight the best, he was stripped of his title for doing it. And the reason why he say that happened because he wasn't protected by a promoter, saying that once you got a guy in between two men fighting, that there's always going to be issues. And that reflects on the issue with Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. Yes, we can go back and forth. This guy's to blame, that guy's to blame. But ultimately, I always take time to point out the man behind the curtain. Because at the end of the day, even though Terrence Bud Crawford is not signed with anybody and he's independent and free, Errol Spence still has a promoter, and one of the most notorious ones in boxing at that. And Roy Jones Jr. goes on to say that it was the promoters that punished him and stripped him of his title simply because him and James Toney wanted to fight. James Toney was saying he was the best. Roy Jones was saying that he was the best. And Roy Jones, if you know anything about Roy Jones, he always wanted to prove he was the best, and he always went after the best. But what he speaks on is being penalized for trying to fight the best. And that is a reflection of what we see today, and it helps explain everything that we're looking at. And not just in Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford, but throughout boxing, period. We keep asking the same thing over and over and over again. Why don't the best fight the best anymore? What happened to the old school era? What happened to the old school way of doing things? And simply as this, the promoters figured out that the best fighting the best is not good for their business. It's not good for their pocket. If it doesn't help them, the heck with what the fans want to see. If this doesn't line up financially where we can benefit from this to the maximum, then they don't want to do it. Nobody wants to put their fighter, aka their product, out there to be exposed as defective or not the best thing on the shelf. So it is the promoters at the end of the day who really have the decision of what these boxers do. And especially when it comes to somebody like Al Heyman, where these guys can't even do interviews. They can't even use their own likeness because contractually they can't. They signed that away. They gave that up. And why did they give that up? And how did he make them feel comfortable doing it? He fed them with money. Same thing like if you're in any other industry and they want to shower you with lavish gifts, cars, houses, everything but your own freedom. Now, I didn't know that at the time, that was the reason that they stripped him, because he wanted to fight James Toney. But this is where we're at now in boxing, and this is the era of boxing that unfortunately I grew up in. I only got the tail glimpse of what it used to be like. So when people hear me speak, I'm speaking on what I seen at that young age when my father and my uncle was witnessing and got to live through. I just wanted the same thing for myself because I thought that's how boxing is supposed to be. But boxing is everything but competition. It's everything but the best fighting the best. Boxing is moving towards an era where it's more theatrical than it ever has been. Boxing has always had theatrics because, you need that point to sell, and that's understandable. But at this point, it has gotten so bad, and not just with Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. You can look at it all the way through. Good fights we want to see don't get made. The Lomachinkos, the Manny Pacquiao fights. Now the Pitbull Cruz, Shakur Stevenson, the Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder. And the Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fight should be a testament of everything that we're going through, because as much as I like Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence, that's not a bigger fight than Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua at the time, especially in the heavyweight division, because the heavyweight division is a casual division. That's the division that brings the casuals. And as the saying goes, once the heavyweight division goes, so does the rest of boxing. Because the heavyweight division is the crown jewel of boxing. Floyd was the reason why guys in the lower weight classes was getting those big checks, or he brought attention to the guys in the lower weight classes. Other than that, it was dominated by the heavyweights. But Roy Jones goes on to say that, it's the promoters that got in his way. And the fact that he wasn't protected by a promoter is the reason that he got stripped. And like I said, it makes sense, and you can put it together now, because we could keep going back and forth. Terrence Bud Crawford is Errol Spence. One thing for sure, we know Terrence Bud Crawford don't got a promoter holding him back. He's about as free can get in boxing. So the only man that we're dealing with is the one from Errol Spence's side. Now that's beside the fact that Errol Spence have tried to downplay Terrence Bud Crawford, ignore him, try to pretend like he didn't exist. He wasn't important. He couldn't sell. All that stuff is irrelevant to the wants of the boxing fan. That's what made Roy Jones special. Roy Jones wanted to give you what you wanted to see, and he wanted to prove he was the best out there, regardless if promoters would tell him, oh, that's not a big fight. Oh, that's not this. Oh, that's not that. He said, no, this guy's saying he's the best. And I'm saying I'm the best. Like Highlander, there could be only one. Okay? So somebody got to go. And that's what Roy Jones was about. But you know the thing about Roy Jones? Roy Jones was Floyd Mayweather before Floyd Mayweather was Floyd Mayweather. Okay? Roy Jones went independent. Roy Jones was promoting his own thing. Roy Jones was making his own music. Roy Jones did it all. As a matter of fact, Roy Jones laid the blueprint for what you see in Floyd Mayweather. Mayweather just took it to another level. Okay? Now, what is the two things that those men have in common? They were the captain of their own ship. They controlled what they did with their career. And look what they was able to give you. This is the same position that Terrence Crawford is in now. So that's why it's kind of asinine to try to put any responsibility on Terrence Bud Crawford, especially when he has made more moves towards getting the fight made than Errol Spence. Not just because Errol Spence don't want to, but also because Errol Spence can't. He can't do it. Okay? Because of the contract he signed. He has to go with what Al Heyman says. But at the end of the day, if we really want to get down to the nitty gritty and throw out all of the petty, we're going to have to look at the promoters at the end of the day. And being that Terrence Crawford doesn't have one, the responsibility lies where? The holdup lies where? To the man that has the promoter. To the man that dipped out on one of the biggest fights, Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, in boxing of our current time. Imagine if we got that fight when that fight was supposed to happen, what that would have did for boxing. But since it did not benefit the promoter, the fight didn't happen. And that's what Roy Jones is bringing to light right here. And I just thought it needed to be highlighted and it needed to be spoke about, because what he's telling you is the truth because he lived it. And once again, look at the connection between Floyd and Roy. They both went the independent route. They both wanted to control what they did. And look at what they was able to give you. A legacy. Something at this time, both Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence is lagging because it's simply not available for them to do. Because these two guys, as much as an Errol-sexual want to be anti-Crawford, these two need each other, because you're nothing without the right dancing partner. That's why Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford fans should be for Errol Spence. Errol Spence fans should be for Terrence Crawford, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make their legacy. So if you really is a fan of the man, you wouldn't be against the fight. You feel me? That's my thoughts on this. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe, and also share. Bruce Vane, I'm out.